Snoop Dogg, just saying the name is a whole vibe. We all know him as a global icon and Uncle Snoop of the entertainment industry, but you gotta remember where it all started. Let's take a deep dive into the career of Snoop Dogg, where he turned death into life and showed us that coming for the streets, there's no limit to the heights you can reach. Before the TV shows, before the commercials, before all the mainstream love, he was a young dude from Long Beach, California. His real name is Calvin Brodus Jr., and he was tall and skinny with a smooth, laid-back flow that nobody ever heard before. And it was completely unique. He wasn't trying to be like anyone else. He was just Snoop, authentic from day one. That sound would change everything for him and for all of hip hop. His big break came through a legend, Dr. Dre, who had split with NWA and started a label called Death Row Records. He was hunting for a new sound, a new voice to build his empire. Dr. Dre's stepbrother Warren G brought him a mixtape from the Crew 213 featuring Warren G, Snoop Dogg, and Nate Dogg. Warren played the tape, and the moment Dr. Dre heard Snoop's voice, he knew it was special. It sounded like magic. The tape was the golden ticket that pulled Snoop out of Long Beach and into the studio with one of the greatest producers alive. Getting signed to Death Row in the early 90s was like getting raw, undeniable energy. Snoop quickly became the label's star player. His voice was all over the Chronic, even though he wasn't the main artist, but he stole the show on Nothing But a G Thing. Just as Snoop's star was rising, trouble found him. In 1993, the same year his debut album was set to drop, he was charged in a murder case. It was a huge deal and the media went crazy. Here was this new rap star, the face of the controversial gangster rap movement, and now he was facing the most serious charge you can get. Despite the serious legal battle, the music didn't stop. Dr. Dre was in the lab cooking up beats for Snoop Dogg's first album, Doggy Style. The anticipation was off the charts, and everyone who heard the Chronic knew that this was going to be something special. Dr. Dre was at his peak of his powers, creating G-Funk sound, smooth, melodic, and bass-heavy vibe that defined the West Coast, and Snoop was the perfect MC for that. His voice just glided over those beats. The combination was electric. When Doggy Style finally dropped in November 1993, it was a phenomenon. The album debuted at #1 on the Billboard charts, and it was a massive commercial success, selling over 800,000 copies in the first week alone. But after a while, life at Death Row had started to change. The vibe wasn't the same. With Suge Knight's legal troubles and the tragic death of Tupac, the label was in trouble, and Snoop felt trapped. He believed that the label was holding him back. He feared for his life, and he knew that he needed to make a change for his career and his own safety. Snoop knew he had to get out to survive and grow. He was ready for a new beginning, so he made a power move. In April of 1998, Snoop was on the cover of The Source, and the message was simple: Snoop Dogg wants to leave Death Row. In the article, Snoop launched an all-out attack on Suge Knight and Death Row Records. He claimed they stopped paying him and were holding his music hostage. He would go on to say that they were holding on to him like a slave. Tensions were high on the West Coast, and Snoop would look south to New Orleans. He reached out to Master P because No Limit was a powerhouse, an independent label taking over the industry. Master P gave his artists creative freedom and ownership. For Snoop, that's exactly what he needed. And weeks later, it was announced that Snoop Dogg was joining No Limit Records. Master P was able to sign Snoop after paying Suge Knight $3 million in cash and giving him points on the next 3 Snoop albums. It was a sweet deal for Suge, but it was also the freedom and rebirth that Snoop was looking for. Becoming a No Limit soldier was a shock to the hip-hop world, and he would take it even further by changing his name from Snoop Doggy Dogg to just Snoop Dogg. It was symbolic of his rebirth as an artist. Master P began a marketing blitz immediately, making sure Snoop's visibility was at an all-time high. The Game Is to Be Sold, Not Told would be the first album to drop on No Limit Records for Snoop Dogg. Just months after he had joined, join. The world was watching and everyone in hip hop was curious how this partnership would turn out. When the project first dropped, it was met with mixed reviews. Fans that were expecting Snoop Dogg to stay in line with the G-Funk roots were disappointed to hear he had gone full Southern rap. Fans expected features from Daz, Corrupt, and Warren G. Instead found Snoop collabing with C Murder, Mia X, and Soulja Slim. Snoop knew the South was about to take over and he embraced it, and overall the album was a huge commercial success. The sound was different and a big shift from the polished G-Funk of the Death Row days. It shows Snoop's versatility, and his time at No Limit proves Snoop was bigger than any one label or sound. He was a brand. He was no longer just a star artist, he was becoming a boss. After conquering the music world multiple times, Snoop Dogg set his sights on Hollywood. He had a natural charisma that was made for the screen. He started with his movie roles, but he really found his groove on television. He wasn't just making cameos, he was creating his own shows. One of his most memorable was Snoop Dogg's Fatherhood, a reality show that gave us a peek into his life as a husband and a father, coaching his son's football team and dealing with everyday dad stuff. He showed his range by teaming up with unlikely partner Martha Stewart with their show Martha and Snoop's Potluck Dinner Party, and it was a massive hit, cooking together and hanging out with celebrity friends, proving that he could truly do anything. Snoop even ventured into children's entertainment, creating an animated kids show called Doggyland. The show featured a cast of colorful dogs who sing, rap, and dance songs about learning and positivity. Snoop also became a special correspondent and ambassador for the Olympic Games. We saw him in Tokyo and again in the Paris Games, providing his unique and hilarious commentary on everything from equestrian events to track and field. A constant throughout Snoop's career is reinvention. Every few years, he throws us a curveball, experimenting with new producers, new sounds, and new genres of music. This explains such Snoop moments as the gospel album, the Snoop Lion reggae experiment, and even his brief signing with Pharrell's Star Trek imprint in the mid-2000s. He's always switching it up, keeping things fresh, and I guess we're just gonna have to stay tuned to see what he's got coming up next. Snoop Dogg didn't just conquer hip-hop and TV, he conquered an American culture itself, all by staying true to his cool, authentic self.